What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and today we're going to be answering the question, how good is the M1941? Now, this is a series I started way back in Call of Duty Black Ops 3, and it's a series where we look at the stats and create a best class setup for all of the weapons in the game, and it just so happens that today we're starting with the M1941, one of the weapons that I think is one of the most underestimated weapons in all of Call of Duty World War II. Now, before we get into looking at the stats and creating a best class setup for this weapon, I first wanted to know your opinion. What weapon would you like to see me do next in this series? I could do another assault rifle or switch to another class of weapon altogether. Let me know down in the comments. And on top of that, if you enjoy the video, it would be very greatly appreciated if you hit that like button, because by hitting that like button, it shows me that you like the video and want to see more like this one. Now, without further ado, let's get into looking at the stats of the M1941, aka the Johnson assault rifle. Now, the interesting thing about this weapon is for an assault rifle, it's weird in this game because most of the assault rifles in Call of Duty World War II have a higher damage, lower fire rate, whereas the M1941 has a higher fire rate, lower damage. But how low is that damage exactly? It's going to be a 4 to a 5 bullet kill, which isn't that low of damage, but compared to the other assault rifles, some of which that kill in 2 to 3 bullets, this one does a little bit less damage than those. However, where the Johnson lacks in damage, it really does make up for with fire rate. The fire rate of this weapon is actually 800 RPM, which is even faster than some of the SMGs in this game, which is absolutely insane, and is also by far the fastest firing assault rifle in the game. The next thing we're going to look at is the range. So the range is pretty simple with this weapon. Like I said, it's going to be a 4 to a 5 bullet kill, and that drop-off range to a 5 bullet kill isn't until 51 meters, which is actually an extremely long range for this weapon to be a 4 bullet kill. And now that we know all of this information, we can take it and look at what the time to kill of this weapon is. So up until 51 meters, the time to kill is going to be 0.225 seconds. After that, it's going to be 0.30 seconds. Now, the really interesting part about this is that these time to kills are actually better than the BARs. And you may be asking, how is that possible? When everyone considers the BAR to be the best weapon in the game, how is it that the time to kill is better for the M1941? And the reason is the incredibly fast fire rate of the M1941s. That is what makes up for the lower damage. That being said, there is one pretty big negative when it comes to the Johnson, and that's the fact that it has vastly more recoil than the BAR does, and that's the biggest difference between the M1941 and the other assault rifles in the game. By far, because of that fast fire rate, that 800 RPM fire rate, the Johnson, or the M1941, by far has one of the most amount of recoils out of all of the assault rifles in the game. And that's really the biggest downfall of the M1941, is the recoil. So as far as the rest of the stats go for this weapon, as far as magazine size, you have a 25 round magazine, which isn't too small, but it's also at the same time not too big. For aim down sights time, your aim down sights time is average for all of the assault rifles at 0.25 seconds. And finally, we've got the reload speed. And the interesting thing about reload speeds in Call of Duty World War II is that most of the assault rifles have pretty damn fast reload speeds. In fact, most of them are right in around 1.32, 1.33 seconds. However, the Johnson is 1.75 seconds, so a little bit slower than average, which is actually a bad thing because it also has the smaller magazine of only 25 rounds. So another little secret tidbit of information you may want to know about the M1941 is that it's a little bit different than the other automatic assault rifles in the game. If you look at the FG42, STG44, and finally the BAR, all three of these weapons actually have pretty high idle sway. If you don't know what idle sway, it's a thing where when you aim down sights, your iron sights move just a little bit. However, the M1941 Johnson doesn't. It has no idle sway whatsoever, and like I said, it is the only automatic assault rifle in the game not to have this idle sway. However, this is kind of made up for, like I said before, because of the higher amount of recoil that this weapon has. So to answer the question of the video, how good is the M1941? This weapon is actually by far one of the best weapons in the game. Like I said, the time to kill is actually better than the BARs. The only difference is you have to hit more bullets and it has more recoil. So it's more difficult of a weapon to use, but at the same time, you can outgun one of the other best weapons in the game. Now, as far as tips and tricks when using this weapon, the biggest tip I can give you is don't use this weapon as an assault rifle. Use it as an SMG. It has a fast fire rate, and on top of that, it has a small clip. Similar to what? An SMG. Therefore, it's actually going to be beneficial for you not to get in long-range gunfights. You want to get in those short-range gunfights where the extra recoil that this weapon has isn't going to hinder you in your gunfights. So out of 10, how good is this weapon? I would have to say that this weapon is a solid 8 out of 10. An awesome time to kill. The only downsides of it is it has a little bit more recoil than the other automatic assault rifles in the game, and it has a kind of small magazine. But I'm not done there. I also want you guys to excel with this weapon, so we're going to talk about a best class setup, or a best division setup, whatever you want to call it. So let's start off by looking at what division you should be using with this weapon. I actually highly recommend using the infantry division because two reasons. Like I said, you want to use this weapon like an SMG. Therefore, you're going to be up close and personal with enemies. If the enemy is using something like a shotgun or SMG, you may want to use that bayonet that you get with the infantry division to just kill them that much quicker. The other reason is you also get a built-in stock when using the infantry division. You can move faster while aiming down sights, which is going to help you when you're getting into gunfights. It's going to help you outstrafe your enemies, which is why I highly recommend using the infantry division. As far as a basic training skill, there's really two that I would recommend. The first is Hustle. Hustle is going to allow you to reload this weapon a lot quicker. And on top of that, like I said, the M1941 has a relatively small magazine and a fast fire rate, which means you're going to be burning through those magazines super quickly, which makes a faster reload time that much more important. And as we discussed, the reload time on the M1941 is longer than the other assault rifles. Therefore, Hustle is a very good way of improving the weapon. The other option you have is Primed. Primed is going to do two things. It's going to give you less flinch when you get shot by enemies, which is going to help you in gunfights, and on top of that, it's going to give you another attachment, which, if you're using the infantry division, you're already going to get 3, so if you're using Primed, therefore you get 4 attachments. So either of those two basic training skills are both very good with this weapon. And finally, probably the most important part of the create a class system in this game, the attachments on this weapon. I think there's 2 attachments that are necessary on this weapon, and 2 that are really going to improve it. So, the first that is necessary is the grip. As I mentioned earlier, as I mentioned many times throughout this video, this weapon has a lot of recoil. So, to counteract that, you want to use the grip. The second attachment, and in my opinion, the key to doing well with this weapon is steady aim. Yeah, steady aim the attachment. And the reason for that is because, like I said, you want to be using this weapon like an SMG. So one thing that's going to make this weapon more like an SMG is reducing that hip spread and being able to hip fire when you get in those close range gunfights. Steady aim is going to do exactly that and is going to help you win those close range gunfights. Now, if you are using the infantry division and you are using Primed, you still have 2 more attachments. The next one I recommend is high caliber. One question is, should you use high caliber or should you use rapid fire? In this case scenario, I believe using high caliber is a better solution. First of all, it's going to reduce the time to kill by more than rapid fire, because what high caliber actually does is if you get a headshot, it reduces the bullets to kill by 1. So instead of a 4 to a 5 bullet kill, if you get 1 headshot, it is going to be a 3 to a 4 bullet kill. That is going to improve your time to kill more than rapid fire would. So if you're going to choose between the two, choose high caliber. And the last attachment, you kind of have 2 pretty good options. The first of which is the one I use, is the reflex sight. The reason for that is I just don't love the iron sights on this weapon. That being said, they're not bad iron sights, I just prefer the reflex sight over it. Or your other option is to use extended mags. Reason being, like I said, this magazine is pretty small at 25 rounds. You go through it pretty quick with an 800 RPM fire rate. When you use extended mags, it bumps that up to 37 rounds, something that's much more tolerable than 25. So either of those options are both definitely very good, but neither of them I think is necessary to excel with this weapon. And guys, that should answer the question, how good is the M1941? I very highly recommend using this weapon if you've overlooked it. If you've been too busy using the STG and the BAR, give this one a shot, because let me tell you, it's just as good, and in some situations, even better than those two weapons. Like I said, stick to close quarters with this weapon because the recoil is a little bit pesky, but all in all, this is a very good weapon. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, it'd be very greatly appreciated if you could hit that like button. If you did enjoy, please let me know which weapon you'd like to see me look at next down in the comments below. Also, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, you can always hit that subscribe button as I upload new Call of Duty videos every single day of the week. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, guys, peace out.
Hold on to